Vivian Leon appealing on the basis that her termination was defective, unsubstantiated, and improper. Josette Javalosa's appeal asserts that no malfeasance existed and her termination violates her rights. Jose Guevara argues he was denied due process and his termination violated the Equal Protection Clause. Untimely, maintains Francine Rocio, and the termination contains numerous personal medical information and other confidential information, says Francis Areola.
This really is, I think, a political related issue. How the worm of politics has gotten involved in this, I'm not certain, but it certainly is a bad apple because of it.
Curtis Vandeveld is representing Bernadette Stern-Menno, whose workers' comp claim triggered the investigation which led to the firing of these 6 employees. But Vandeveld maintains that there was nothing improper about Menno's workers' comp claim.
The notice seems to suggest that she didn't actually have a slip and fall. There's trite differences between what Ms. Menno describes. And again, she's not a doctor. She says she's got a broken disc. And they say, Dr. Hayashida says a herniated disc. I think from a layman's perspective, a herniated disc, which is, again, not consistent with the way that discs are normally, that would be a broken disc.
But does that constitute serious fraud?
I suppose it depends on the level of perspective that you have in looking at the facts. I don't think a reasonable person would make that conclusion, but apparently people associated with the port did.
Civil Service Director Tony Lamarena confirms that he has received all 6 complaints and now they will be evaluated, and that may take some time.
If the Civil Service Commission Board rules in favor of the employee, normally they would receive back pay and reinstatement.
But that could be more than a year away, likely.
It could be. It could be, again, like I said, we try to work with the board to prioritize terminations because the individual is not in a position to generate finances for their families. So we do try to fast track them as much as we can. But because of the tremendous number of cases that we presently have, we also can't afford to push people back as a result of these cases.
I guess the question that the people of Guam, and particularly government of Guam employees, have to ask themselves is the system broken? I mean, if it's going to take more than a year to get to the point of being able to have a hearing to determine whether or not you should be reinstated to your job position, how fair is that?
Vandeveld says that his client and perhaps some others may not wait another year for civil service to decide. Menno, says Vandeveld, has already filed a federal civil rights complaint alleging her privacy rights were violated because her medical records were stuffed into her mailbox and attached to her termination notice and the termination notices issued to the others.
I'm hoping that ultimately this matter can be resolved, and it can be resolved by allowing the Workers' Compensation Commission to make its determination relative to Ms. Menno's claim for workers' comp. And if they determine that she's entitled to workers' comp, then all this stuff about fraud really is pointless.
Kevin Kerrigan, PNC News.
And that she can be restored.